Good evening. Welcome home. My name is Daniel Brower. I use he, she, or they pronouns, and I am the transitional minister here at First Christian Church of Decatur. Welcome to 601 Wednesday, the part of the week where we get to take a breath together before plunging into the second half of our week. I say almost the same thing every single week, and I still almost fumbled that. Incredible. I am back in my office for this 601. Yay! Which means that I am surrounded by all the things that live on my desk. If you've seen my desk, you know that it's a wonderland of things that I have to do, and also things that are very special to me. This one in particular is special to me because I inherited it from Pastor James. This was on his desk as well, and if you've spent time in his office, you might recognize it. It's this little guy right here. This sign says, if you can't read it, because I won't hold it still, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? This is a fantastic test to run your communication through. It always reminds me of a test that used to sit on my grandmother's boss's desk. That one was a little less elegant. It just said, whatever, in really big letters. And I always thought that was kind of funny until my grandmother explained what it meant. Don didn't just have whatever on his desk for no reason. It was a reminder of Philippians 4:8, which says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." And this is also a fantastic test to run your communication through. You know, they say we live in an information age, and I'm at the point where I would even posit that we live in kind of a post-information age, right? There is so much knowledge and information available to us, whether we like it or not, everywhere we go, and there's such a variety. If you don't like these facts, we have alternative facts that suit you, any mood or viewpoint or situation. In such a time, it is vital to be aware of not only what we profess, but also what we consume. In an era where truth and goodness is as subjective as the news channel you choose to watch, we have to be intentional and discerning when it comes to the things that we listen to and believe. Recently, I noticed that someone whose opinion that I had once greatly respected was reading through The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy Jr. And, they weren't reading it ironically, if you know what I mean. And Philippians 4:8 came to mind. Is it true and noble to feed your mind on a diet of conspiracy theory and falsehood? Is it right and pure to choose to engage primarily with media that lacks factual basis and drives itself mainly on disinformation and fear? Unless it sounds like I'm coming straight after those on a particular side of the aisle, this also applies to those of us who mainline a steady stream of news about the state of our own nation. It is important to be informed, that's very true. And is it lovely and admirable to choose to engage primarily with media designed to enrage us and alienate us from the humanity of other people? Is it excellent and praiseworthy to feed ourselves on a steady diet of anger and despair? I will admit that it is very concerning and terrifying that there are so many people who are so easily convinced to deny science and human rights and common decency just because a man in Washington said that it must be so. And it also worries me that those of us who are rightly outraged by these things can be as easily convinced to abandon compassion and care of other humans because they have been so deceived. For those of us with a measure of privilege, we have the capacity to be kind. We can stay informed and not fall prey to propaganda or rage bait. We can love our neighbor and not fail to call out immoral and dishonest behaviors. We can condemn evil and not forget that we are not inherently morally superior or immune to this same kind of failings ourselves. All of these things are important, and we can hold them in both hands. That's why God made two of them. This is a really nuanced conversation that is much larger than the 10 minutes or so that I normally talk on this thing. We have been talking about this kind of concept since, Pilate looked at Jesus and said, "What is truth? What is truth? What are we called on to do? What are we called on to think? How are we called on to interact with other people who espouse terrible things about other people?" Big conversation. And I still wanted to put it out here. Because truth is important. And so is compassion. Justice is important. And so is mercy. Staying informed is vital in this day and age. And if all it is doing is making you angry at the world and hating your neighbor, maybe it's not good for you. I pray that we have the mind of Christ in these things, that we can balance these things, and so that we can bring about a better world together. I'm very blessed to be part of a church that is in many ways a microcosm of that better world. We are not perfect by any means. Let me tell you that. As our sign mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we are not full of hypocrites. We've always got room for more. And we are striving to do better, be better, and love better every day. If you want to be a part of that movement, join with us this Sunday morning. This Sunday morning is something really special. Something we do every so often called break bread together. Instead of the typical communion service where we have the bread and the cup, we'll share the Lord's Supper in the style of the early church as a full meal. And we'll enter into a time of sacred conversation surrounded by the love of that table. In the past, we've talked about big topics like our building, our future, our style of worship, our outreach. This time, we're going to talk about models of church. What does church look like in the past? What might it look like in the future? And what is successful right now? We have a very special guest in Reverend Dr. Ted Smith coming to share with us his work on this subject. He's literally written the book on this, and he has graciously agreed to come and facilitate a conversation in which we can start to think about, okay, well, if this stuff works, what does that mean for us? And what might we want to do going forward? It promises to be a truly fascinating time, and if it's not fascinating, there's gonna be food and fellowship, so what you got to lose, I invite you to join us at 10:25 Sunday morning, either in person or online. As we move into the break bread together portion of the service, we will cut the Facebook feed and move to a Zoom link, which will be available in the comments of that Facebook Live. So please be on the lookout for that, and don't be scared when the Facebook Live cuts off. But you know what? You don't have to be there. It's okay. Our feelings won't be hurt, because it's not really about us. It's about you and God. And between you and God, between you and me, and for all of us, this much remains true. God made you special. God loves you very much. And so do I. Good night, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic evening.